Got ours on the
I was really hoping. You gotta get up, go to work the next day.
Mine for some reason, I'm not really body about it.
Get up.
Yeah.
First drive.
Let's try this again. Can you hear me there?
I can.
Yay, I can hear you. I didn't. press
Good.
the screen. Thank you.
Be able to set the tent up.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
That's not to roll in the thing and get on the air mattress.
That's not thinking about that. When I was afraid. Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to July 2023 Omaha Astronomical Society General Meeting. If you have headphones for those folks remote, you can put them on and use them. Use your space bar to unmute. I think we pretty much know how this goes. Do we have any guests in Zoom tonight? I'm waiting, looking at Mike to see if.
No one looks like they're raising their hand.
Okay,
Most of them look familiar.
okay. Is there any guests in the room?
We're new members. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
I don't know those folks in there.
Hi,
We're all friends.
how did you hear about us? Thank you. Live long and prosper.
Well, Sonali, she talked about it at work and then my grandson's interested in it, so we're joining to start getting him motivated.
Oh, great.
Excellent. Sue, what are your names?
I'm Peggy, Silas, and Dwight.
Then we come on, but
Glad you're here.
this is Stanley.
Hi. How did you hear about us?
My aunt.
That's great.
At this point.
Sonny's got news for guests tonight.
Yeah. Sonali gets.
Well, if you decide to become a member, you will be part of an organization called the Astronomical League. They have a quarterly newsletter or magazine. We have a place called Astro Park near Weeping Water. That's our dark site. We have a great telescope loan program. So if you don't have a telescope and you want to try out different telescopes, we have an individual who kind of runs up that program. We do have a newsletter every month called the Stella. That gets delivered in email. We do have Discord as well. And we do have business meetings towards the end of the evening, and members can vote on those. Upcoming important dates. Tuesday is Astronomy in the Parks. That'll be in the outreach portion. Look at that. NSP, July 16th to the 22nd. That's a week from Sunday. How many people are leaving before Sunday? Wow. That's a good amount of people. You want to speak about it real quick, Eric?
Well, we're in the last throes, I would say, you guys. I can't believe it myself that it's a week and a day away. But we're really excited, you guys. We have a real good crowd coming. We have one party from Canada. We've got people from all over the country, you guys. And I'm really surprised. We've got a lot of people from Georgia this year. The Northeast are coming from the Northeast as well. And so anyway, just looking forward to it. I've been fielding different questions like John has been, and I have to talk to some of you guys. We've got to make special arrangements for people coming up. But anyway, it's just looking forward to it. I know a lot of us they go up all the time. It's kind of like a family reunion for us. And so I'm really excited. I think the people that do come up like that are probably excited as well about that as well as just meeting new friends. So we're looking forward to it. And if you guys do want to come up, I don't have any brochures. I don't know if we have any brochures here in the building, but
I have one.
we have John, we've got one.
Take a picture of that one.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys, the website will be open through sometime on Sunday if you want to register, www.nebraskastarparty.org. And if you want to, you can just walk in as well up at the site, up at our registration site. And I'll be at Boardman's from 4 to 6:30 on Sunday and 5 to 6:30 on Monday and Tuesday. Up in the Merritt Reservoir, which is now an International Dark Sky Park. We're looking forward to it. Isn't that neat, you guys? We got that designation, but we've lived that all of the times we've been up there. Isn't that neat? I mean, we just acknowledge, it was just acknowledged what we've all known for a long time. All right.
Eric, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
You
sure.
think that more people are coming because that's notified that that's a dark side?
I think some of that, we have a lot of new people though, and you guys, we really, I think this year. We've done some extra advertising, marketing, so I think it's because of that as well. So I think the idea has a little bit to do with it, so, yeah. But I think we've done, we're getting more and more of a handle on marketing, so I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Getting better known.
What's that?
It's getting better known.
Yes, yeah.
Hi, this is Sam. My question. How can we connect with you over there? I've never done it before.
The best way would be go to the nebraskastarparty.org
So,
for information. There's a schedule as well as directions and lodging information.
yeah, and look for the Nebraska Star Party Planner. It's a PDF file on the left side. Once you get into the main page of the website, just look for Nebraska Star Party Planner. They'll give you a lot of information about.
No, I understand. At the reservoir, how can I connect with the OAS, with you guys?
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, a lot of people be at Boardman's. Dinner time's a great time to connect.
There's a
Just-
big tent that you can.
Yeah.
Will you guys have,
It's like
will you have a
gathering
booth?
point.
Would the OAS have a booth?
No, we don't have a booth.
Okay.
Down at the very end, where it's called Dobb Row, you see the flag behind John there on the wall, that'll be flying, and you can come and visit me anytime and. there'll be
Oh,
some-
perfect.
Several of us down there.
We won't be
Perfect.
fined.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks, guys.
you may also hear music.
You can ask
almost
anybody.
Yeah.
Tell them if you play, bring your instrument.
There is an OAS Fall Star Party, Saturday, September 16th, 5 o'clock at Astral Park. That's a member event. This is like the fall version of the one we had in May. Do we have anybody use Astral Park in the past month? I know I counted 5 in the log the other day. 5.
John,
Yes.
I don't
sir.
have anyone online marking us.
Thank you.
I heard that last week when we had our storm, that Weeping Water had some bad weather down there. Do you know if it affected us at all?
I don't know. I was there Monday.
Oh, good. Okay.
I thought there on Discord, there was a reference to. a
Yeah,
tree
John
branch.
said that there was a branch that he just moved out of the road on the way down. But everything looked fine. It was nicely mowed. You can see where all the reflectors are. It's pretty good. Awards chair.
So we don't have any awards to present tonight, but just wanted to give everybody a heads up about an award that was presented. So we don't have an award to present tonight. This is about an award that was already presented. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up at Misrule, the Mid-States Regional Astronomical League. There was an award presented to our own John Larson. And it was Amateur of the Year. That's kind of in recognition of his leadership with OAS the last year, and Peggy appreciated his help with the bylaws and all that good stuff, so I think she was pretty happy with him on that, so.
There was a pretty funny video apparently, so
What?
I did no idea that
When
was.
they announced his name. Yes, it was not expected, so it was very cool. So just kind of more of a heads up. That you guys. Thank you. Oh, and don't forget to consider an award. There's some great awards out there. Oh, I have one that I'm gonna have next month, by the way, that's in process. Didn't forget about you, Bill. But there are some great awards. If you go to the website and take a look, it's for all levels, beginners through experts. So really cool stuff from looking at observing the moon, the constellations, all kinds of cool stuff. There's something for everybody, so check them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Observing chair. I'm gonna pull up the slide. It's behind this box.
Welcome to July. And we had the new moon on the 3rd of July already. But as July starts, you'll find that Jupiter and Saturn start coming into view again. Jupiter is close to midnight as the month ends. And Saturn rises close to midnight. So they're mostly after midnight to early morning. So also Neptune. Uranus again early in the morning before sunrise. So a lot of them are in the morning, but Venus and Mars still very bright. Venus especially very brightly visible in the evenings. Mercury in the evening, and if you have trouble finding that at the end of the month, it's close to Regulus in Leo. Full moon, of course, July 3rd. New moon on July 17th, that's right around NSP, which is why NSP is held close to the new moon, so to have darker skies. Meteor showers, southern delta acrid, range from the 12th of July through August 23rd with a max rate at peak of 25 an hour. And comets, Mike actually put this up, and so I looked this up, but Comet Atlas is in Ursa Minor. Its orbital period is about 85 years, and it should be visible, especially in dark skies. So I'm looking forward to looking for that at NSP. And we had a comet last year, so we have another one this year.
It's like a tradition.
I know, and year-wise before that, so there we go. Threes, maybe. I think that's it. Oh, this is a chart for finding Comet Atlas. You can see it moves from close to Ursa Minor to closer to Cetus as the month goes by. Cetus, sorry.
What's the name of the comet again?
Yeah, it's Atlas, C/2023 E1, I believe, Atlas. And this is from inthesky.org, this map. But yeah, I think it should be relatively easy to find in the northern sky.
Anything special about that?
Not that I am aware
Is it a green comet?
of. Probably.
Oh, find out. Well, near was close to Ursa Major when it was around, so this one's close to Ursa Minor. This is just credits for where I got the information from.
Outreach. This doesn't look as long as
I was gonna say.
June.
You just stand up.
I put some August stuff in there too. That was when we talked about it at the board meeting. Well, one you can decide.
I had to do last month, so.
You did last month.
That will be beautiful.
Okay, as John's already mentioned, we'll have our Lake Zorinsky Star Party on the 11th. So let's, yeah, if it's a decent night, I haven't checked the weather forecast out yet, but it may get rained out if I remember, but we'll see. We'll try. And then the rest of them are close at the end of the month. Obviously, we wanted to make sure there was nothing interfering with all of us being able to go to NSP. The Mahoney one will be we'll try for Friday, July 28th. And rain date would be July 29th. Now, of course, if it is, then we will have to double up because we'll have Lawrence and I didn't get a real good report, but that was quite successful at Lawrence in last month.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been really strong.
Yeah, they really appreciate it. So we'll try to make sure we got a group always whenever they would like to have us there. Oh, and then that's right. Well, okay, August, I guess we'll go through the, yeah, Mike, that's more your, the Quasar TV, or the
The drive.
drive-in, yeah. I'll let you elaborate on that one.
Real quick, first, I checked the weather for Tuesday, and it looks like it's gonna be clear. Okay. To check that weather, I use the Astrospheric app, which is another benefit of OAS membership.
Oh, thank you.
We have a group in Astrospheric and we have enough members to qualify, so we get the pro features for free rather than having to pay the $25 a year, whatever it is. And that is actually a cool new feature that I just noticed today that I haven't really used yet. Seen this?
No.
It's called the astronomical clock. And apparently you can set, looks like you can set different objects and spin around and it'll tell you when it's, when they rise and you know what their altitude is.
This is not easy to show on Zoom right now, so.
But
I
yeah.
was thinking, John, you could, if you wanted, I can spotlight you, the John Larson video cam, and Mike can go around and show off on your John Larson video cam, because it's really clear. Yep, it looks good. Let me spotlight that. You could also stop sharing and we could put that as the center feature too. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
Oh, my Zoom just went. Froze.
I don't know, it looks good on my end.
Okay. Well, is it moving around?
We broke it.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's a, so anyways, if you want to sign up for it, let me know. We'll get you, there's an access code that you enter in the app. And then you get the features and it's pretty slick. It shows you a couple extra, there's some extra layers, more detailed cloud, different cloud forecasts, different layers of clouds that you can identify, some other stuff, smoke and it'll show you the smoke forecasts, which is helpful this time of year with all of the fires burning.
I'm gonna have to come back into Zoom here, hang on. Keep talking.
So August 10th, it's the kickoff event for the Valley Days, which is like the small town celebration out in Valley, Nebraska. The Quasar Drive-In is just northwest of Valley, out in a big field. It's pretty dark skies. We did one, we went to Spaceballs there last year. There was a handful of us out there. This year it's ET and it's on Thursday night, which is their Classics for a Cause. So they do a classic car show in the evening. And then as the sun sets, they show a classic film. And then it's always for a cause. So there's always a charity associated with that. And this one will be for the Valley Public Library, which is one of our library telescope partners. And so we'll hopefully go out there and promote the telescope and then see what we can see and hopefully raise some extra cash for them to do the things that they do.
How was the library stuff this past month? We were Waterloo.
We went to Waterloo. Waterloo was nice. We had 25, 30 people maybe.
We also did
Springfield. Ralston was our
indoor program.
Yeah, we had clouded out on that. We had a handful of people, but they were very, very interested, very involved, and we got to just talk for like an hour and 15 minutes about all things astronomy. And then Springfield, Carmen and I went to there and we had a couple of 3 or 4 families that stopped by. One guy was, I mean, he knew a lot. We had some really good conversations. I think hopefully he's gonna join because he seemed like he needed to be a member. He was very, very into all things, not just the astronomy, physics and things as well.
Cool.
And you?
No news on PLV yet? For August? The outdoor program for.
Oh, yeah, you would bring it up. Yeah, dear old Ann Danner, she's already mailed me the list. So we will be talking at the
Okay.
August meeting about that. For those of you wondering what we're talking about, probably most everybody does, we're kind of on the hook to do a program for every sixth grade elementary class in the Pavilion, La Vista, Ralston School District, so.
So we're gonna put it in the calendar.
So we'll get it in the
Still,
calendar, yeah, I need to get you that, John, before the next, yeah. Yeah, it came actually probably the last day of school there, and sometime in May or June, and it just got thrown on my desk. We'll worry about that later, yeah. But yeah, we will need, we'll be twisting arms for that, yeah. Okay, any other questions you wanna embarrass me with?
No, sorry.
No, that's a good thing, I should have remembered that.
It's putting it in people's mind for next month.
Is it still at the Carol Joy Hollings?
As far as I know, it's gonna be at the Carol Joy Holling, but not as good as it used to be over there at the Royce, but that's gone.
Yeah, that's been raised.
Yeah. All righty, thank you.
Telescope monocular loan program. Stafford. It's on your shirt, right? There you go.
They need to, I want to share. This meeting.
Yeah, I need to reshare my screen just a second, everybody.
They compare my notes to. Where did it go?
I'm getting there. I don't remember if I have this updated. Our board meeting was like a couple weeks ago.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
okay, the only significant change on this month is the 80mm refractor went out a few days after the deadline for submissions to the newsletter, so that's a good thing. Should have a few coming back pretty shortly. And the 13-inch Dobsonian, Mike Gallagher helped us out with cutting the pieces and parts for me to rebuild that. That's the good news. Now all I have to do is put it together one of these times. And Mike Motorson gave me some FRP panels to put on the bottom, so hopefully I will have that done by the end of August. And
You're not gonna work on it in 2 weeks?
nope. Let's see that. And that's about it. It's been kind of a slow month, which is good, so. Still a few things available if you want to take them up to the start party. Just get me this week. All right.
Okay, thank you, Stafford. Clap.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing real quick. Jordan, how are you?
Hello. Doing well.
Hi.
Should I just do a quick intro for
Just a
tonight?
quick
and then-
intro, and then
Okay.
we'll come back to it. We've got a couple things to cover before we start that part.
All right, gotcha. So my apologies in advance, to everyone. I do not have a speaker that will come in tonight to give us a presentation. However, a few weeks back, I was going through the reflector telescope and actually found a really interesting article written by a gentleman on kind of reconstructing the Milky Way's original birth, formation, evolution, and then current and future path in life, and wanted to kind of take that and explain it a little bit further than what he did in the article for people who may have also read that article or in the magazine here. And it was from the June 2023 piece. So tonight, if that's okay, I'll go through that just because it's also a really interesting topic that I loved learning about back in college. So that's the thing for tonight, is kind of the Museum of the Sky, learning about the history of our galaxy. very brief addition.
I'll
Yeah,
also
so
make you
that'll be-
co-host Jordan, so you have as much control as you want.
Yep,
Gotcha.
we'll be that, hold on to that thought, that'll be in a couple minutes. Let me go back to my presentation summary. I need to do. Well, I don't really need slides for this. Do I? This is a presentation. This is not our normal meeting thing, is it? Or there's a presentation. That's you. Did you want to start that, Mike Motorson? This is Carmen Motorson. This is Mike's. You go around in front of the desk in a minute.
Yeah, in a minute.
Okay, I'll let you do what you need to do. I don't want to pressure you.
No, it's fine. I had to write my little notes here so I don't forget anything. So yeah, so I'm gonna. I'm very excited.
Drum roll. No, never mind. Apparently I didn't have an SD card in here.
Oh, you need somebody with a phone?
You wanting to videotape this?
Yes, please. Please stand by.
The Zoom will record it too.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's like a lot harder to. I wanted to.
You need, yeah.
Edit, got it.
Thing.
I mean, I can just hold my camera. I got it.
All right. So I guess before I get to kind of the main announcement, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself professionally and the company I work for and kind of how we get to this announcement. So I'm an environmental scientist and project manager with HDR Engineering. I've been with the company for about 5.5 years now. And some background on our company. So we are an international engineering and architectural firm. We have about 11,000 employees, and I think in 29 different countries. And so interestingly, we're actually headquartered right here in Omaha, Nebraska, just a hop skip down the road next to Arden Village. And so one thing that I love about HDR and our culture is that giving back to our communities is a big part of that culture. And to kind of support that, HDR has created a foundation. It's been around since 2012. And what's unique about this foundation is that it is 100% employee funded and employee run. So all of the funds in this foundation are donated by HDR employees. We have a day of giving every year. So we recently wrapped up our 2023 year. And we had all of our employees donate up to, it was $1.7 million. And then that money is then dispersed to different organizations, different things. But one way our employees can get access to that is we can be employee sponsors. We can sponsor grant applications to organizations that are near and dear to our heart. And so just kind of a little bit of background. Like I said, the foundation's been around since 2013. They've been giving grants. In that time, they've given about $6 million to the communities that we're from and we work in. So I guess why am I here? So in May, the Omaha Astronomical Society put in a grant for 50 library telescopes and 1 solar telescope. And so I am excited to be here today. I'm nervous to say that, let's see, we're on the front now.
Yes.
That the HDR and the HDR Foundation have decided to award the full amount of the grant in the amount of $19,350.
Very cool.
So yes, that will.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
That'll buy a lot of.
Okay, so everybody here, we need to do photos with the check. So. It will be best to do this.
Together, not individually.
Not individually. It'll be together, yes, as a group.
As a whole group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The picture.
Okay.
You don't want to be in the photo, that's fine.
The more the merry. Take a picture.
All I don't. In back.
All of us.
Oh, wait a minute.
You're gonna be right here. See, I don't know. I want to be that one of these. It's trouble.
Man, now I feel real bad about skipping and working from home.
Sorry.
Okay, if I'm gonna take a screenshot with Zoom, I'm gonna have a camera's gotta be pulled out. So some of you will get cut off unless you squish.
You can come down in front too.
There's also spots in back,
Yeah.
back by the banner. Oh, there we go.
Get up.
Grab yourself a chair then, roll you right in front.
Grab a chair, Dan.
Well, I think I need to be all the way down.
No, you just need to be at John's knee level there.
Yeah, just right here, where my knees are. You can
pull the Yeah.
chair around front. Yeah,
You-
you gotta pull the chair over. There.
Yeah, just sit in the chair.
Yeah.
Cause if you sit down, you're gonna be too low. Chair will be perfect height.
As we're doing it, just go.
Okay, you're gonna have to sit up. There you go, Diana. I can see ya. Anybody else gonna sit in a chair? There's some room. We could get a row of 2 or 3 in there.
Somebody else.
Can you
sit here?
Sonali, what's your niece's name?
There we go. Denby.
Debbie.
There,
Yeah.
fill in there.
Are they all smiling?
Smile like you just got $19,000.
3, 2, 1.
More.
Just hammer that shutter.
Yeah. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, who blinked?
Second.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Great, thanks, everybody. So we'll establish a program where the comically large check can visit you. Each person can have a time with it. You try to let it roll
Yeah.
off.
Well, what's really cool is we can use a lot of money to buy telescopes.
I don't.
Yep.
The library. You'll find out she's in the biggest.
Yeah.
All scales up to
Our house.
Maybe not be.
We're gonna let Mike talk for a moment.
Yeah, so really cool, really nice opportunity for us.
Maybe it's on. Flip the switch.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So yeah, it's a really nice opportunity for us to expand the library telescope program. We're currently, I think 25, 27 telescopes. And we'll be able to, triple or more than double, I guess, yeah, we have 3 times as many.
Does that mean that we'll get into the Omaha libraries?
Oh, we are.
Omaha, I actually offered Omaha. I told them, hey, well, they passed on it. I worked with them for a long time trying to get them.
Really?
And they said I thought I did too for a while. And then the lady said, we talked about it and it's not something we want to do. I said, well, what if we gave you the telescopes? And she said, we're still not interested.
Oh, really?
Which I thought, all right then.
And that could be because they're lost their main library.
I was gonna say, they have a lot of stuff going on and they don't
I
currently
told
have,
somebody Omaha had it.
they currently don't have any other library of things items. It's just not something that they do, so they don't really have a setup for that, at least according to her.
Okay.
Talk to do space.
So,
Yeah.
No, it's relocated. It's relocated.
90th.
so now they've got, pretty much every other library in Douglas County has one already, except the Omaha system.
So it's an invasion. It's surrounding Omaha.
But yeah, so the grant was written to purchase 50 telescopes and 50 eyepieces. And then the libraries are still going to purchase the fanny packs, the red light, with flashlight or headlamp, whatever they choose. And the little star atlas that we use from the National Audubon Society Pocket Guide to Constellations. So they'll those are like $40 maybe, will be the library's contribution, and then we'll give them the rest. We'll do all of the modifications. Just like we have been doing. Currently, the Star Blasts are back ordered until mid-August, so depending on when we actually get the funds and place the order, it's still gonna be a little bit before we have those. That being said, when those come in, I really would like them to not all be in my living room. And so if there's anyone willing to host a few, we could spread them out. Hopefully we'll be able to turn around and get them out to the libraries right away, but we'll probably have 2 separate build parties or work days. Down at the grain exchange or wherever we can find, maybe we need a bigger space if we have a lot of people, but we could really use some volunteers to just turn those out so we can, get those out of my living rooms as quickly as possible.
Think of it as like a host family for exchange students.
They don't eat much.
There you go.
They're quiet, they keep themselves.
Mike, if we do need larger space, I can reserve UNO that room or other rooms, and I do have an office, which is pretty much a storage locker right now. So I would have access on campus to store
Yeah,
stuff too.
That would be really good, I think. I offered it to the people in the foundation to see if any HDR employees would be interested in helping out with the workday part to try and get some extra labor. The new Star Blasts are pretty easy for anybody who's done the old Zoomel Z114s before. The Star Blasts are much less involved. We don't have to disassemble the mirror cell and do that whole thing. You just swap out the thumb nuts for lock nuts on the back of the mirror cell. You do it one at a time and it's pretty simple. The only thing extra we have to do with those is they don't come with a moon port, so we drill a 2-inch hole in the cap, which I have a little jig for, so it goes real fast and easy. And then you slap on the labels and do some of the strings and anybody who knows how to solder will need some extra people to solder up the battery compartments on the red dot finders. That'll probably be the most intensive modification. But what was did that answer your question?
That answered the question.
Okay. And then along with those 50 telescopes for the club, we're getting a 50 mm double stacked hydrogen alpha refractor on a Solar Quest, Skywatcher Solar Quest solar tracking mount. We're getting a sun spotter, folded Keplerian solar projection telescope, which is a little, I actually have it up there to share, but it's just a little wooden plywood looking thing with some holes, lenses and some mirrors, and it just bounces around, and then you put a white piece of paper and it projects onto a screen, so you can have many people looking at the sunspots or for the eclipse, assuming that the stuff is in stock and still available before that happens. And then we're also getting a smart telescope. So looking for, I guess, help maybe deciding, but either the Vionis, whatever, Vespera, or the Unistellar EV scope. So yeah, and that's everything that we get.
Wow.
Thank you, Mike. If those people who've written grants before know how much you have to put into your letters and things that you submit, it is an interesting and time-consuming process. And Mike and Carmen did that groundwork for us and submitted. I didn't have as much to do as they did for this grant. The interface that was made for us to use was fairly simple. And I've already uploaded the required documentation right before this meeting. So our side of that is complete for now. There is parts of a grant that have to be completed in the terms of like reporting. We have to do media releases if we're taking pictures of people at some of these sponsored events. So we'll have to have like a short sheet around for that. I might just have OAS people do one if they're comfortable with it. There's a financial report requirement as well. So we have to kind of keep track of how the money is spent, all the outlay, and they may ask at any time to see that information. So, yes.
I would also suggest, since you have the work parties, that you count those people and the hours as in-kind contribution. That's always good on a grant.
Yeah, we had something I was gonna bring up in the business section, but yeah, part of the grant was that we're supplying all those materials for the modification side and the labor. I didn't quantify the labor cost as the volunteer stuff, but we did say that we were supplying that, so there is.
Well, but in your reporting, you
Yeah.
can be more accurate as to we have this many people in these groups provide this many hours worth of work to prepare them for. And that's all in-kind contribution and always looks good on a grant.
Yeah, sure. Like, look at all the people that came together to help perform this grant.
Absolutely.
I will add one more thing. So these grants or this grant cycle, we have 3 grant cycles a year. They have not officially been announced yet. I think HDR will be announcing them internally next week and probably externally on all of our social media and everything. I think within the next couple of weeks. So you might see extra traffic or something like that.
Do we need to hold off mentioning this?
It's a good question.
Maybe we
Okay.
should just.
Good idea.
I'm going to hold off on posting any pictures from tonight. Is it on the OAS Discord?
On Discord, yeah.
Okay. We'll follow that up with
Now
a,
send a note, say,
Yeah.
by the way, don't share this.
I will check with Angel,
Okay.
our grant coordinator person and see on that.
Yeah.
I also offered to do a star party for HDR. Maybe on the roof of their parking garage there in Arxarben, could be kind of interesting. Either that or just do one instance in park and have everybody invited for that.
I think that's a great
Sounds
idea.
like fun.
So I just want to say thank you, Mike and Carmen.
Oh,
That is very nice. Breathe. Okay, next part is Jordan's presentation. Do we want to take a break real quick? Jordan, you think that'll be fine if we take a 10-minute?
yeah. Yes.
Yes, okay, 10-minute break. I need to pause recording. Okay. We're gonna get ready to continue on with our program this evening. Jordan, I'm going to spotlight you for, actually, Krista, can you spotlight Jordan? For some reason it's not showing up on my,
Done.
thank you.
Yep.
I'm gonna switch over here. Can you see us?
Oh,
Well, you can see
I,
me from this camera.
I
don't know
can
about the
see,
room camera.
I've got the view above.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
your OAS host is looking at the instructor. I didn't know if you want, is that supposed to look at classroom?
I can look at the
That you're-
classroom. Yeah,
Was that your intent? I
Yeah.
think there's a setting for that. So if Jordan had her Zoom view, she could see that up on top.
it's like zoom out, right?
You could do that, yep. And then she could see everybody's back of the head.
yeah,
Well, I don't see a camera
We
in
see
the
you.
front. So, in this classroom, so.
Okay,
Watching this though.
everybody's looking at you, John.
Well, I'm gonna get out of the way.
Nobody sees us.
Okay, go.
oh, okay, let me see if I can share my
When
screen.
you're ready, I'm not trying to rush.
yep, you should have all those controls. They're on the bottom.
Okay. And do. Okay.
See how this works.
Oh, good. So language.
That good?
That's not good. Better.
One sec.
You may have to mute your video. There you go.
There.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
That's right.
I'll be talking through it. I don't have a video sound.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Let's do this. Okay. So a quick pre-announcement for some things. So some upcoming programs, like I said tonight, I apologize for not having someone come on and give us a talk. I'll say something about that in a second, but I'm looking for some additional presenters for the rest of the year. And Mike Morrison sent me another email about the NASA subject matter experts. Like we had Dr. Luis Wellbanks last month, who gave us that wonderful presentation from Arizona. They have another set coming up for that. So I was going to submit something else so we can hopefully get another amazing researcher, subject matter expert here to give us a chat. I think that is due maybe by the end of September. So they might get back to us for a speaker, maybe for maybe November, December, or possibly into the next year, January's talk. Also maybe looking for an engineer or operator who has worked on maybe one of the rockets for any one of the companies shooting up rockets right now, or one of the robot rovers that was sent to Mars. There were a few people that I knew back in college who actually worked on some of those rovers that went to Mars. So if I can reach out to them, maybe they would be able to give a talk, or they know someone who maybe like a younger student who was working on it and helping them out, that would be able to give a talk about that. Maybe it would be nice to bring back one of our former speakers for an update. I know a handful of them were saying that they either had papers, a thesis that they were finishing up and presenting, they were finishing up a graduate program, or they went to a conference to submit research they had done from, gathering data. Like Allison, a few months back, she had that she was doing, going to a conference, and I haven't been able to catch up with her since then, but I hope to, and see how that went. And besides that, I am also looking for topic ideas and some help and input from everyone else for other programs and potential people for the rest of the year, mainly because I will be kind of busy with something for a while now. And it's kind of just a small, not a plug for myself, but just letting you guys know this is why I have not been there in person lately. And then I'll be missing the Star Party this year. And then this is also why I'm asking for a little bit of extra help. Is this kiddo here is a new person in my family. So he was born back in May. His name is Leo, little cutie. So if you start to hear him in my background crying, I apologize in advance. I might pick him up and hold him, and he can be part of the little talk tonight. So yeah, I would love any input, help, suggestions that you have for program speakers, and we can go ahead and get started with the main event for tonight. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll get going.
Okay, Jordan. Yay for the kiddo. I know I started Jamie off at 3 weeks coming to astronomy type stuff. I don't know if you heard, but the Seversons just got published this week on a supernova event, the May supernova event in M101. They might be a easy presenter because they're just down in Lincoln. They also are using the EV scopes, which I think Mike was looking at and wanting to get. So that might be a tool time / presenter that we could get fairly close and easy.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah, if you would be able to either send me that their names and info through the chat or through email as well, and same Mike for you, I can definitely reach out to them.
Yeah, I'll
Cool,
do that.
Anyone else before we get started? All good? Okay, so tonight, like I was saying, there is this really interesting article in the Reflector Telescope of the June 2023 edition. It was on page 22 through 24. So if you get the Reflector Telescope and you had a chance to look through it, you might remember this article, but it was called Museum of the Sky. Can we observe relics of the Milky Way's construction, by a gentleman by the name of Dave Todison. And I wanted to kind of go into what he talked about, but expand on some of the things that he glanced over, just because If you're reading through some of it, you might be a little confused of what he's talking about of certain stellar formation, galactic and universal formation things. So let's get into it. On Earth, we can search for relics of ancient civilizations, uncover artifacts from all over the world, Pompeii to Rome to, the terracotta warriors, the Native Americans here. We can reconstruct our history going back thousands of years, and we can build museums to house these artifacts or just leave them where they are. And to date these pieces of history, we get the dates from literature, from other historical records, sales, anything to do with money and commerce, or just worldwide events like a volcanic eruption with Pompeii and other things. And we can also date them using dating techniques like isotope dating, where we measure the half-life of an element to see how old something is, how long it's degraded basically for. And we can actually be pretty accurate with the date and the age of these things. For Earth, we can do something similar, where we can date these rocks that we have with the same isotopes, but it's also limited to rocks that are still on the Earth's surface, because as you know, we have a living Earth. Things are changing over even day by day, thousands of years, millions of years. The surface of the Earth changes, and so these rocks are either eroded away by weather and natural. Oh, yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so these rocks are eroded away by either natural events, or they're engulfed by the tectonic plates and they just disappear forever. So our dating and the age of the rocks that we have on Earth is limited. We can kind of place their age as best we can, but it's still not, we still don't have the oldest rocks in our solar system here. So instead we wait for asteroids to pass by and drop some debris on our surface, and then we can place the age of the Earth at around 4.5 billion years old. How do we go about dating galaxies though, like the Milky Way? How do we go about dating stars? That's a little bit more involved, because we can't necessarily touch it. We can only use observational data and put that data into our computers and then work from there of how we go about dating it. And one method that we use is stellar evolution. There's many methods, but this is kind of one of the main ones, and it's very similar to the rocks. We are finding the age using the oldest parts of a galaxy, and the parts of the galaxy, there's gas, dust, and there's stars. So we're using the stars, and we're trying to find what stars in the galaxy are the oldest. And these are measured by, one thing is a surface oscillation. So there's different layers of the star. As the star evolves, there's the core, there's the inner layer, outer layer, chromosphere. I won't go into all of that, but between these layers, there's waves that develop within here. And depending on how these waves propagate, how fast and the direction they propagate, they can show the density of the star deep within it. And this kind of also shows us what elements are currently burning in the core of the star. And for a star's lifetime, they can burn through a variety of different elements. We first start burning hydrogen at the star's birth, and hydrogen will be burning in the star's lifetime for most of its lifetime. Once the hydrogen runs out, the helium element in the star kicks in, and it starts burning helium, and it changes into kind of a little bit different type of star. It can expand, into a red giant, and eventually it goes through the rest of the heavier elements. And if it's a really, really big star, much bigger than our sun, it'll start burning iron. And that's when it gets to kind of the end of its life. It can't really burn iron, and, it explodes into the supernova. Our sun will stop burning at that carbon age, or that carbon layer, and then it'll just kind of die in a poof. But by looking at these waves and seeing and kind of measuring this density, we can guesstimate what stage a star is in its lifetime, And from there, we can, with about a 7 to 10% accuracy, give that star's age. So from these values of the stars that we're looking at, we can kind of guess the age of the Milky Way to be like 13 to 13.5 billion years old. And then consider that the Big Bang from maybe our most updated measurements occurred maybe almost 14 billion years ago, which is just a few million years before the age or the birth of our Milky Way. One example star that we have looked at in the Milky Way for kind of aging our galaxy is the Methuselah star. And at one time it was this huge uproar that this star was the oldest star in the whole universe, and it was much older than the universe itself. So did it discredit the Big Bang theory? Did it come before the Big Bang? And then recently they've kind of adjusted their measurements, and they said, okay, it's not as old as the universe. It's probably just a little bit younger and about as old as our galaxy itself. This star is located in the constellation Libra. It's about 13 billion years old, so it's very old, 200 light years away. So it's relatively close, to us. And you can actually spot it with binoculars, and from a very dark site, like where you're going to be at the Nebraska Star Party, you may be visible without any optical aid. Right now, it's kind of nearing the end of its life. It's a subgiant hypervelocity star that's actually moving towards our solar system. And it's one of our galaxy's oldest known stars. And I say known because we haven't been able to look at every single star in our galaxy. We'll talk a little bit about observing the stars in our galaxy a little bit later. But for the stars we have observed, it's one of the oldest, if not oldest so far. And for its metallicity, it's very, very low compared to our sun. And metallicity for astronomers, researchers, is just the measurement of the chemical makeup of the star. So how much of the elements make up the star other than hydrogen and helium? If it has a lot of the carbon, the oxygen, the heavier elements like that further on down the periodic table, or if it's has mainly just hydrogen, helium. And this star is part of the population 2 stars, which means it's kind of like the second generation of stars. Back when stars actually started forming in the early universe, we call those population 3 stars. And these were the primordial supermassive stars. They burned very quick, had very short lives, and they died in tremendous explosions, probably much bigger than some of the supernova we see today. And those are kind of what provided a lot of the heavier elements that started the second population, which is population 2, which makes up which the Methuselah star is part of. And these have a little bit more heavier elements. And then once those stars died, they made up the population 1 stars. And that's the generation that we have right now. That's what our sun is. And our sun has much more heavier elements than the population 2, than the population 3 stars. So we are using stars in our galaxy to kind of tell us how old our galaxy is. And we'll come back to that, but I want to quickly go to how do we learn about the history of just galaxy formation and structures in general, because that'll help bring us back to talking about our Milky Way and how we think it formed. There was a paper published in October 2022 by a group from the Rochester Institute of Technology. They were using the James Webb data, and they presented data on about 850 early galaxies. So these are very, very young galaxies. We're observing them very far away from us with redshifts between 3 and 9. I'll get back to the redshifts thing. I'll kind of mention that right now. So quickly, a side note, measuring redshift, we are just saying, okay, is this galaxy moving towards us, moving away from us? If you've ever heard the ambulance, that's probably the best analogy to use for redshift, blue shift. It's just the sound of the ambulance coming towards you. The pitch increases, it gets higher, louder. And then as the ambulance moves away from you, that pitch and the sound decreases, gets a little bit lower. So with measuring a galaxy's redshift, we are measuring that rotational speed using something called spectra from observational data. And this just breaks the galaxy down into a bunch of different features that we are comparing to a accepted value or a value at rest. And this gives us that redshift value, basically how fast the galaxy is moving towards or away from us. And breaking that down even further, we put the center of the galaxy, this galaxy you see in the picture here, in the center of a split of a spectroscope, just on some telescope in outer space or on Earth, and we take that data. We take a picture of it, and this can also be done for a star as well. And from this data, we obtain a spectrum. The spectrum looks like this when broken down. Sorry, my animals are freaking out about something. So the picture of the galaxy when broken down through a computer model looks like this. And what we're looking at is the kind of chemical compositional makeup of the galaxy. We're seeing how much of each element is kind of showing up for this galaxy. And a well-known feature used to measure red and blue shifts are the Balmer lines. There's H alpha, you see over on the right side here, H beta kind of towards the middle left, H gamma and H delta. And then there's other things like oxygen, there's iron measurements. I mean, you can each little spike in this picture of a galaxy, it's a huge long piece of data, but each little spike kind of tells us what's in the galaxy and how much of each element shows up. But these Balmer lines, those H alpha, beta, etc., are really used to measure the rotation of the middle accretion disk in the galaxy, and also help us determine whether that galaxy is moving away from us or towards us. So when we're looking at this, if this H alpha line, if it's normally at a wavelength of 7,000 for at rest value, the normal value that we've accepted in the scientific community, and then all of a sudden my data from a telescope observation of some other galaxy like the Andromeda galaxy shows up and it's shifted, say to the left or to the right, then it's going to tell me either it's blue shifted coming towards me or red shifted going away from me. So the Andromeda galaxy, everyone knows, is going to eventually collide with the Milky Way. So its Z value, its redshift value, is going to be less than 0, moving towards us. If the Z value is greater than 0, it's going to be moving away from us. And the larger that Z, the greater the redshift. So when we say that these early galaxies from this paper that they published have redshifts between Z equal to 3 and Z equal to 9 between those values, that's like a medium, low, medium, high redshift. So they're all moving away from us. But the rest of the data, the conclusion from this paper was basically they just need more work to quantify when all of these features within these galaxies, like the spiral disks, the halos, everything that make up the galaxy, they actually just need more time, more data to figure out how they were formed. However, go fast forward a month from then. So that last paper was October. There's another one that was November of last year. Saying, some more data that was published about this remarkably luminous galaxy at a pretty high redshift. And if you take the redshift and equate it to kind of the age of the universe that it was formed, this one was only formed maybe 350 million years after the Big Bang. So very, very, very young, or very, very, very old galaxy, that was formed at the very, very young universe. That data from that galaxy suggests that once they put this data through some computer simulations, this FIRE computer simulation, it suggested that galaxies grew rapidly in the early universe. So that October paper, they said they just needed more time, more data. But this November paper was saying that these galaxies, once they started, merging with little prototype galaxies, it started out slow, but it really picked up, and they started creating more and more pieces until we got the galaxies that we see today in the universe, and galaxies like our Milky Way and the Andromeda. Beyond this, there's still a lot more to learn about galaxies, about their origins, and it's going to be kind of like a forever research topic, just because there's always more to learn, and we're looking at some of the hardest things to look at going back in time. But this brings us back to talking about our Milky Way. Now that we kind of have a little bit of understanding of what one paper says, and there's many, many other papers that are saying a similar thing, that the galaxies formed in these methods, then we can kind of take that and look at our Milky Way and reveal how it first came into life, its young age, its evolution, and then its future. So I'm going to break it down into a timeline here of these kind of 6 points. The 10 billion and 11 billion years ago are going to be combined, just because they are pretty tremendous growth periods for the Milky Way with some very similar things going on. So jump way back to the beginning, or supposed beginning, the Big Bang, maybe around 13.8, 14 billion years ago. And after the Big Bang, there is just so much heat from this huge amount of energy released that matter could not form. It was just kind of like a soup of particles and radiation. The energy zipping about was just too high to really settle down and get married to each other. Nothing, no hydrogen atoms, solid things could really come together. And it took almost like 500 million years, give or take, to really start forming things that we would recognize today. Again, you go back to that paper from November 2022, and they were saying that really luminous galaxy was forming 350 million years after the Big Bang, which is less than 500 million years ago. So it's a give or take thing. We're using the data that we have, but it's a general assumption for galaxies and stars to start forming was about 500 million years after the Big Bang. And so after the universe had enough time to really cool down, it became transparent to the radiation, those hydrogen atoms, helium, began to form by capturing electrons and kind of making those first stable atoms that could clump together even more. And then we get the cosmic background radiation, the age of atoms, and then finally first stars and galaxies start to form. So at first, the density, the soup, you could say, was all the same density. And after a while, things cooled down, some particles slowed down, and that equal density across the plane changed. So then you have particles that are starting to attract to each other and start hitting each other and mixing together. And then that gets to bigger objects. You have larger rocks that are coming together, or pieces of gas, I guess, gas and dust that are coming together. And after enough matter came together, you get a star. And after you get enough stars, they start to offset the equality of density and gravity in the universe, and they start to gravitate and attract each other. But these stars, were very massive and short-lived, as we saw earlier. So they were living and dying in just a few 100 million years and producing those heavier elements. And again, from a big star comes these heavier elements, more gas clouds. So you get a lot of gas dust that's forming big gas dust nebulous clouds, and eventually that's coming together for more star formation. And so it's giving rise to these population 2 stars, a little bit smaller, that generation before our sun. And as you're getting more and more stars, you're getting star clusters. So their gravity is attracting each other, and they start to form these clusters until we get to about 3 or 13 billion years ago. So almost a billion years after the Big Bang, a little bit less than that. You have enough primordial stars and star clusters that they're now migrating closer and closer until you get these little proto-galaxies of, I don't know how many stars, like say two proto-galaxies of 1,000 stars. And they're close to each other. They start attracting each other. Then you get a little bigger proto-galaxy of 2,000 stars. And the result of this are bigger and bigger clusters. And as they spin around each other, they're slowly flattening out and forming these little disks. And then you get bigger disks, and eventually you get something like our Milky Way galaxy here. Let me see if I can get this video to go. Okay, here we go. Okay. Come on, video. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of well, my video is loading, but it's just a video representation of that formation of something like a galaxy, like our Milky Way. My internet is probably a little bit slow out here.
When you shared out, Jordan, did you share out
Copy
for
these.
video?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Mute your
Mm.
camera temporarily.
Mute
might-
my camera.
Yes, yeah, reduces that bandwidth.
Okay. Let's try that.
I just let it
so-
buffer for a little bit.
Okay, I can just talk a little bit more. So these tiny clumps had a little bit more density than average. They have slightly stronger gravitational pulls compared to their surroundings. You can see that in this, you'll see in the video. So they're attracting more and more material, and we get a little mini Milky Way. But that Milky Way galaxy, that little prototype, was not alone. It was surrounded by several other neighboring clumps of matter, dark matter, and eventually they started pulling even more together, and it collected into these dense pockets of the galaxies that we see today. And those clumps that the galaxy brought into itself actually remain within and around it, and are known as, say, some of them are globular clusters, and those contain some of the oldest stars in our galaxy, which some are almost 13 billion years old. See if I can let this video finish. Load. So these, you can see here, it's starting to flatten out, but there's still separate groups, say within a little prototype or pseudo prototype galaxy like this. And then it's starting to pull in more smaller galaxies like itself. And there's, it pulled in something like a quarter its size or a half its size. And the larger galaxies are kind of dominating and engulfing the smaller ones. Here we go. And that then brings us to something a little bit closer to our time, not really, but relatively closer, 10 to 11 billion years ago. It went through a really significant growth in this era of life. And we had an encounter with a dwarf galaxy about a quarter the size of a Milky Way. And they break down galaxy encounters into like a major and minor. And if there's an encounter where the other galaxy that's, say, colliding with ours is maybe half the size or a little bit bigger, that's a pretty major encounter. And you're going to have a lot of change, a lot of star formation come up, and probably a lot of loss in the structure. But this one was just about the quarter of the size. They gave this galaxy the name Gaia Enceladus, aka Gaia sausage, just because of its shape back then. But we can actually see kind of the evidence and the bones of this little galaxy still within our own galaxy. And the clues to that and the clues to other little, say, groups of stars within our galaxy come to us from a satellite observations and data from the Gaia satellite telescope that was launched by the European Space Agency back in 2013. And it actually studies the motion of stars. And so these clues that this Gaia galaxy was once an external galaxy include data like the stars within this group have really elliptical paths within our galaxy, and many of which orbit in a very like a retrograde direction, so kind of opposite to a lot of the stars around them. And then the metal content of the stars in this group are also much higher than those of our galaxy's halo, our home galaxy's halo. So the original stars that came together to the Milky Way are like one group, and they all kind of have a certain personality, you could say. And then the stars in this Gaia galaxy have a little bit different personality. And so we gathered data on these stars and like 300,000 stars in the galaxy from this Gaia thing. And they say that our galaxy's thick disk and the spiral shape was likely formed from the energy of this merger of that Gaia galaxy. And there was like a huge plethora of new star formation activity that kicked in, and it actually replenished our thin disk at the time with gas that increased the star formation. So we can kind of thank that merger for a lot of the shape and the stuff that we see in our galaxy today. So go back to the Gaia satellite that took all of this data. the Gaia satellite project measures the exact positions and distances of more than, I guess, 1 billion stars, as well as their light spectra. So that image that we saw later of the picture of the galaxy broken down into the H alpha, H beta, that squiggly line, and it enables scientists to understand the star's composition, its age, and the positional data allows us to determine their speed and the direction that they're moving relative to anything else in our galaxy. So as things in space kind of follow predictable trajectories, astronomers can then reconstruct the paths of these stars billions of years ago and then also into the future. And they can kind of combine all of these trajectories into like a movie that captures the evolution of a galaxy over eons. So we've been able to do this with Milky Way. Maybe in the future we can do that with other galaxies, but we'll have to get a much bigger telescope to observe their stars. So this is a pretty cool video that I found. It's not the prettiest one. Again, it's going to take a moment to load, but it actually shows with arrows the velocities and the direction of stars that their data was taken into the Gaia satellite project. And so the astronomers on this research project have actually identified over a dozen plus collection of stars in our galaxy that kind of seem a little bit different to all the neighboring star groups. And these collections all within themselves have stars with similar ages, elemental compositions, and velocities. And so they believe that these groups are the leftovers of the smaller galaxies that original Milky Way picked up. And that was about that 10 to 11 billion years ago. Come on, little video.
Hey, Jordan, can you hold up for a second?
Yep.
We, the
9
screens
o'clock.
shut off at 9 o'clock here, so we got to reboot our system.
Okay.
Someone's back. I was hoping that it would be, I was touching the screen and keeping the screen active. It wouldn't go to sleep, but no such luck. And we are.
Try emailing them again. They might just decide we're not worthy.
Oh, wait a minute. Now I can't hear. Can you hear me, Jordan? Check 1, 2, check.
Hey, buffered and is looking nice now.
All right, good. Who knows? Everything's back on our side.
Okay, all set to go.
Yep.
All right, hopefully this has loaded a little bit.
It looks great on Zoom.
Nice. Let me get it, see if it catches up with where we're at. So it's just zooming in on some of the stars. They've separated the stars into different colors based on say the type or the group that they're part of, if they're a binary system. And so they've put these arrows to them to show the movement, and then the length of the arrow is how fast that star is moving in that direction. So you can kind of see a lot of these arrows are moving in a generally similar direction. Again, our galaxy is a very dynamic place. Things don't just always go straight through things. They kind of take a up down roller coaster motion, but they eventually get to the place that they got to go. But anyways, so the strong gravity of our galaxy back then just ripped apart these little interlopers, and they only kind of left behind small remnants. And a lot of the extra pieces of our galaxy. Like I said, the halo with the globular clusters and the thick part of our disk actually came into being from these groups and from the gas and the dust that the Milky Way captured from it. But this, just reconstructing something like this, that shape and the structure of our galaxy, come on, from that data is a really long and involved process. There was a group of Dutch astronomers back in 2018 that found a group of 30,000 stars that all were moving in sync through our kind of solar system neighborhood in the opposite direction to the rest of the stars in that area. So that's 30,000 stars moving just opposite to everything else. And this pattern matched what scientists had actually previously seen in computer simulations like this one of galactic collisions. So these stars also had different color, brightness, different velocity, different movement. So it kind of suggested that it came from a different galaxy, one of those little mergers. And this study also suggests that our sun could have been born or was likely born during one of those periods of a galaxy merger where some galaxy was absorbed into the Milky Way. There's a lot of interaction of gas and dust colliding together and forming a whole new population of stars. And kind of from the movement of these stars, they also found that the Milky Way disk is not as flat as we thought it was. I mean, it has a thickness to it, but if you think of a disk, you would think it's kind of flat all the way across, but it's actually warped. And as it rotates, it precesses like a wobbling, spinning top. And this wobble, essentially like a giant ripple, circles the galactic center much more slowly than the stars in the disk. And they think this ripple could also be a result of a past collision with another galaxy. I mean, you look at pictures of galactic collisions from Hubble and then now James Webb, and you see these giant streams of gas and dust spewing out of these two galaxies interacting, and I can just imagine what the shape of that's going to be afterwards. I can just skip this video, but we kind of get the idea. So this one goes on to the little warp that they see in the Milky Way, and I did not know about this back in college. I didn't know our galactic plane was a little warped, but this is kind of cool to see that, where if we could see our galaxy edge on like this and then see it face on like you see in that little square, just the different shapes that we could see, and how we have these two main arms with a few sub arms, that a lot of it is made up of populations of stars that came into our galaxy after many billions of years. And it brings us to the modern day, where we have two close by small galaxies that are orbiting us, the Large and Small Magellanic Clouds, and they're already distorted by our gravity, and we're slowly absorbing their gaseous halos into our own massive stellar body. So we're tearing these ones apart, and we have this Magellanic kind of strip running through our galaxy, which they think we've pulled off gas and dust from the small Magellanic Cloud to create this red stretch that you see, this Magellanic Stream. That's just a high velocity gas that stretches across our sky. And you can actually see it, just takes a little bit more, maybe of a trained eye telescope, but it cuts through the Milky Way South Pole. And it was first seen in like 1965. And how we figured that out was, again, the velocity patterns of the gas itself were much different than the Milky Way band that we see here. And at first we didn't even realize it was connected to those Magellanic Clouds, but after further research, we found, yep, we are tearing apart those things. So eventually we'll probably just absorb both of those clouds into our galaxy and start a whole nother thing of star formation. Interesting enough, the Milky Way has not yet experienced a merger with another similar mass galaxy in its entire 13+ billion year life history. And like I said earlier, a collision of that magnitude is just catastrophic to any galaxy involved. And that sort of collision triggers huge star formation of so many stars that there really isn't enough gas left over to form new generations. So with this one, again, videos are loading slowly, but this one shows the present day view of the Andromeda Galaxy, and then it fast forwards through some jumps in timeline to show over time what the view of the Andromeda will be in our night sky. You could probably go on YouTube and find this video. And then it also shows the collision between the Andromeda and us and what will happen afterwards. So after a major merger like this one, the galaxies will tend to become red and dead, like a elliptical galaxy, meaning they are just filled with kind of only small, dim red stars. So in 2 billion years, the Andromeda Galaxy is going to be absolutely stunning. I want to be here in like that timeline, 3.75 billion years, to see something like that. Those are going to be amazing photos. And then once we start to merge together about 4 billion years from now, everything's going to get pulled apart, stretched, meshed together. You won't be able to tell the difference between Andromeda and Milky Way. Huge star formation. And then after all the gas and dust is used up, you start to get, oh, it stopped at the best part. You start to get just this big halo, kind of you can't really tell, you don't see any gas or dust there. And so this one, it shows the collision itself. But the elliptical galaxies that we see in our universe could have happened because of galaxy mergers like this, where you have two very similar sized galaxies just colliding together and then kaput. They just don't form any more stars after they're done forming. They've just spent all their gas. See if I can go through this. Again, you can also go on YouTube and watch these videos. Any of this stuff you can go look up if you're really, really interested in learning more about it. I don't want to take up too much time. All right, if it's okay, I'm just going to skip the video. Again, please go on YouTube. They've got dozens of these interactions between our two galaxies and probably many other. But this is just kind of a quick summary of the formation of our Milky Way. I'll let you kind of scan that. But the final conclusion I wanted to come together was we can put together a whole museum of information and data of our universe past, the present and the future of our Milky Way's birth, its growth, its modern day, and then its future. But it's kind of crazy that we can know all of this. We can know the sun's past, future, and the earth, all these things that are so massive and so far away from us, yet they've dictated our entire existence and our current lives. We can predict all of that, but we can't predict what will happen to ourselves on our daily lives in the future. We can only look at our past and the present day. So it's really interesting how we can predict the future of all these other things, but we can't predict our own personal future. We just have to wait to make our museum exhibits of humans day by day. So I think from the article, that was kind of the biggest thing that I got from it was, yeah, we can time travel with everything but ourselves. So the end. Thank you.
I was able to input a lot of the YouTube videos in the Zoom chat. So that will be
nice.
Put into the proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. And of course, congratulations again on your latest edition.
Thank you. And anyone had any questions on that, or good to move on to the next thing?
Questions?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but I'm sure Jordan noticed that.
It is really fascinating that all this stuff, they keep finding out more information as they look for things. And then they have to do models and predictions on the data that just is there, but we just can't see it until we get better instruments. The Andromeda and Milky Way merger has always kind of been a fascinating thing for me. I didn't realize that it would be something where there's going to be no more star formation after they merge. I didn't know about that. kind of an end of it all, right? It's not so much. I mean, we hear about heat death of the universe and like, you know, all the stars going out. But
And that's just a theory though, right? We don't,
Yeah.
like, we don't know.
true.
Mhm.
Nobody will really probably ever find out because.
I'll never know. But somebody someday will go, that person was right or wrong. Exactly. Jordan, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
We do a quick break for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this business meeting. Sorry.
Got it.
Okay, let's see, I need to do
And go.
share screen. Oops. Oh, now I can't see my component here. Share. One. This one.
Probably your answer.
Oh, Secretary's report read. Shall we bring it up on the Stella?
Sure.
As I navigate our website here. Thank you for being patient.
Oh, you could have shown us the past experience from the website.
Does that work on that new feature?
I don't know about the new feature, but you
I could.
could have shown at least. Transfer periods.
Come on. Come on.
I had an actual.
High CPU usage, huh?
Yeah.
Now I'm getting internet slowdown.
Well, you get the better.
Local
computers good.
Yeah.
We could stipulate that the minutes are in the stuff.
The minutes are in the Stella.
And say, does anybody have any?
Does have any,
We accept minutes as printed in the Stella.
hey, Nina has a motion to accept the minutes as listed in the Stella.
Second it.
Complete seconds.
Thank you.
The motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes as printed in the Stella. In the Stella, make a note to myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Guys.
Passes. Treasurer's report.
Who's being Ed?
Let's see, treasurer's report. There was a slide for this. I know there was a slide for this.
I don't know, I think he moved away.
I had just done it. All right.
Pretty old.
Did you want to read it or do you want me to?
You can read it if you'd like.
I thought we were doing this quickly.
Oh, would you rather me to read it?
Here, that's the way.
It's up and about. I only have one question, so.
Put it up somewhere. Here? Okay. Well, all our income last month was from dues, $224.76. We have few expenditures, $865 for astronomical dues, which is once a year, $5 per person, plus $10 for the organization. $300 for Astro Park mowing. $1,500 for surveying the land at Astro Park. $100 donation, which we do once a year to the International Dark Sky Association. $809.76 for 1,000 solar glasses and 500 little square solar viewers, which are now at my house. So if we have a way to start selling them, I'd be glad to get them out of my house.
Another letter today, the libraries.
Okay. $102.71 for the picnic in May for food. For total expenditures of $3,677.47. Pretty active month.
I should say.
And my notes below are more or less talk about, paying the astronomical fees and so on.
What's the balance at the end of June?
Stand by.
It's not in there.
Down there, I did that again last month. In the summary, but I of course keep track of the details. At the end of the month, we had $12,759.18. We dropped to about $4,000.
Yes.
Mike.
Vice President's report. Is Steve online?
We need to vote on the treasurer.
I was at Astro Park on Monday. We went for a drive.
No.
Kelly's parents got to see Astro Park. They said, it's very quiet. I said, "It's not
Overnight.
nothing at the gun show, so down the road. But it was very nice. It was well mowed out to the reflector poles that we installed. The steps looked pretty good. We had sprayed them in May again. Altogether, it looks pretty good. We did remove ISS. We did remove some wasps that were making a nest in the log station.
Oh, that's good.
So those have been dispatched. The interlopers, as we call them. Wow,
HST.
I know. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I checked the log. There was like 5 people that had come through down there. Nice.
Do you think the people that do go down there are filling the log?
Troy and John are pretty consistent on that, yes.
When was the mowing done?
It had to have been in the last week. Cause it was short on Monday, so I'd say probably on Friday or
I
Saturday.
got all the dates if you want to know.
Mowing near the full moon, that makes sense.
He mows twice a month.
Yeah,
Does he?
That's good.
5/11, 5/27, 6/10, and 6/28.
Okay,
That's good.
so Thursday, that's not bad. His name's Owen. So Owen Moen is Moen Owen. That's his company.
Really? Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Now, if we have events, we can ask him to mow before that event, right? We discussed that with him. So if we need to, we can say please, but we need to give him advanced warning to do that.
Did you have it?
So.
Or adjust one of the mowings a little earlier or a little later?
Yeah. Mhm. There was a few wasps in some of the buildings that Kelly's dad was attacking with a pole, so I just let him do it. He was raised in the country. He's used to that kind of thing.
He's an adventurous soul.
Yes. When I told him I had a wasp nest underneath the railing on my back deck, he actually just reached up under there and pulled them out. He said, you gotta be quick. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Order of business. Nothing yet on number 1. Number 2 continues. Number 3. Nice.
Yeah.
Number 4, we voted on that, has not yet been done, so reestablishing building and pad numbers. You have a number 3? Okay,
So in order to supply the materials needed to modify the 50 telescopes, I was going to ask to increase the library telescope budget. I know I don't know how much we've actually used of our initial.
I wouldn't know where he's
Yeah,
at.
that's fine. We had an original budget of $250 for the year, just assuming we did normal stuff, and I was gonna ask for another $250 to be put towards that for any caps, the label sheets, the battery packs. You can make your own motion. So I moved to add $250 to the library telescope budget to fund grants telescope modification.
John, can you restate that for online? It was a little quiet when Mike was kind of going
Mike
in and
is
out.
making a motion to increase his budget for the library telescope program by an additional $250.
Would that be new
Why?
business versus old business?
Good point.
No, it doesn't. It's a request.
It's just a request.
It's during talking about the subject, so.
How much can you
Gotcha.
go ahead and do it on your own, John? It's up to 500. You can go ahead and okay. Without voting if you wanted to.
Is it a contentious vote?
But that takes it out of his.
I have 300 on discretionary. I don't have 5.
You know, okay.
Let's increase that to.
He's like,
Motion at a time. I gotta write this down. Hang on. Motion to increase
Does it come out of the grant money?
50.
This
Please.
would be
second.
OAS. It was actually, when I wrote the grant, I actually said that we had $500 that we were contributing as.
It's a matching fund essentially.
Yeah, she was talking about.
In kind.
In kind.
donation.
Yeah.
Well, and that,
Secured funding, I guess is what they called it.
so this way we actually are gonna be fulfilling that.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to look at it?
Well, I just think I know we're gonna overstep our existing budget because we've already spent at least $100 some on
This first one.
just for the ones that we've done already so far this year.
Well, that sounds good. Well, this way we can fulfill our promise to HDO.
And we're getting quite a bit out of it.
question.
Yes, sir.
Call the questions.
Call the questions.
Make it out.
You vote.
Okay, thank you. A motion is made and seconded to increase the library telescope funding from OAS by an additional $250. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, I oppose that. I want to go $500.
Thank you. All right. Done.
The only other thing, I guess, while I'm talking about that, is how we decide which libraries get the telescopes. If anybody has any brilliant ideas on how to do that, I'm welcome to hear it. My best suggestion is to put it out there, take a tally of everybody who's interested, and then draw them out of a hat. And 50 people get those.
The other option is smaller towns with smaller budgets would be higher on those.
Yeah, we could.
I mean, if we have a way to figure that
We
out.
could create pools and like separate it. I didn't know if we wanted to separate because it's for all of Nebraska and then western Iowa. I consider Iowa's broken up into 6 regional library systems. And I'm considering the 2, there's like a northwest and a southwest. And so any library in those 2 regional library systems would be included. And I don't know if we want to separate and designate specifically a pool for Iowa libraries and a pool for Nebraska libraries, or, you know, big and small, or if we want to just keep a few at, like, give away 40 and then pick 10 if there's any ties to any specific libraries that we want to just earmark specifically for. And up to us. I did get a call actually today from the Papillion Library Director, or I think she's the services librarian, but whatever. She runs that, asking about buying a second telescope because they cannot keep the first one that we have for them on the shelf. And there are people literally waiting at the counter the days it comes in
Really?
to
Wow.
be able to-
That's a good.
So maybe Mike, we could we could look at a as need basis, like maybe with the Papillion, they need a second or even third telescope. But I know you've approached libraries and they've considered it and they've financially had some concerns or hardships. Maybe those are the individuals that should get at least one telescope. Is there a set determined amount of time we have to pass these telescopes out? I know, as you said, things are back ordered, but it might be a year-long process as people approach you. And you find that there isn't more of a need that you could.
No, that was my issue is, who deciding on a merit basis, like who gets it, who deserves a telescope more than somebody else. I know like the Astronomical League, the Horkheimer telescopes that they give out, one per region every year. That's, you fill out the grant applications, quote, but it's just your name goes in a hat and they draw out. That's the telescope we got for Valley last year. There was only, I think, three in our region that had even submitted an application, and we just happened to be, it was probably us, St. Louis, and the other St. Louis one, Eastern Missouri, whatever.
I guess as a teacher, I hesitant about having them fill out an application. Usually the ones that are in need are so far just struggling to keep up with the demands of their job and their patrons that.
The application being, put your name on an email and send it to me, and then that's you've applied.
That works.
Like, I'm not asking to like fill out, oh, poor Timmy loves astronomy and he just really wants a telescope.
Well, I think if you go back to the list that you had in the libraries that said they were interested, but then said we cannot fund it.
For whatever reason.
I would approach those first.
Yes.
Real good notes on that. Those calls were typically made while I was, building a house.
Just a reminder, you were recorded.
That doesn't matter.
Giving you a hard time.
Mike's done a great job.
Yes, you have.
I'm not gonna criticize
Well, I mean,
at
if you
all.
were-
He does take notes.
Yeah, and that's where I was saying that
Yeah.
if we held, like, I know there's a few that I would love, that I have kind of a soft spot in my heart for. Papillion, they want a second telescope, but again, they were approaching me because they probably have the funds to buy a second telescope. And even she said, after I mentioned that we could potentially supply a grant telescope, she even said, well, hey, like if somebody else needs it more, like.
Well, I mean, that's.
So
Yeah.
And that's cool.
and so I would, if we're just opening it up and it's luck of the draw and they happen to get it, that's fine then.
Yeah.
Well, I'd point out, this only becomes an issue if we get more than 50 libraries in one telescope.
That's true.
And you're gonna stand up and request
And,
more than
and-
50, but we don't know yet.
And Michael, you're under no constraints. I mean, you have carte blanche and how these.
I could just point to, the methodology was not part of the grant application.
Of distributing.
That's why I was looking for feedback. The only way that I could really decide to be equitable and not let biases or anything else determine anything was just assign a number to each one and use Louis' little hat pull program that we use for the Christmas party to randomly just pop out, which ones get what.
Yeah, it's pretty fair, actually. Yeah.
But again, if we want to separate and make sure, like the Iowa gets 15 and the rest of Nebraska gets 35, or
Why don't you see how many come in and do it as a percentage? If you get 50%, there should be even.
I have no problem with my thumb on the scale one way or the other.
Sure.
Pretty flexible like that morally, but.
We also have to consider that they all do need maintenance. So, you might not want to have too many that if they're not requesting it.
Right, yeah, well, we've already got like Valentine and Blue River and some of these far flung places that there are gonna be issues potentially down the road on and.
Well, Valentine, I can think of a couple of astronomers that are there once or twice, at least once a year.
You're Dunning on their way to Valentine's.
Oh, yeah, some people.
It's time for your yearly checkup.
It's the more picturesque way to go.
The wellness visit.
People, but they've got a telescope.
Oh, that's good.
So anyways, okay. We'll just,
would you like to do that as part of the board meeting discussion?
yeah, we can, if anybody has any ideas, send me a Discord or an email, message. I'd be happy to take suggestions and chat about that. We'll certainly talk about it at the board meeting. Like I said, the telescopes are back ordered, so it's not really a rush. And we have a full calendar year before we have to finish. Our
Distribution.
program, our grant program runs for.
Well, I would think it'll go faster than you think, though.
And it technically hasn't even started yet because we haven't gotten the check yet, so.
I would think that finishing would count as having had them ordered.
Yeah. I don't see any hurdle. I think 6 months.
That's not
from now-
legal tender, Kim.
I think 6 months from now, we're gonna be, mostly done with that part of it and just waiting for our other stuff to come in.
I don't think they're gonna be terribly upset if we have a few that we haven't finished modding because we haven't gotten them yet.
And I don't, Carmen can maybe talk a little bit too, just totally aside from that, but apparently they really, really liked this program. So much as to say that they would definitely consider funding it again in the future.
Cool.
Very good.
Might have to go US wide at that point then.
Yes.
Oh,
Or school libraries.
School libraries is something that the task forces should starting to lean into a little bit and discussing. That's kind of we have there's a lot of back and forth on that under.
Because of summertime, most of them aren't open.
Well, you can't really do elementary schools because you don't want to, 9-year-olds carrying a telescope home on the bus.
You can't stay up late.
So you do high school libraries and I thought even, college libraries to have one at the university that some astronomy student can go and check out a telescope. I don't know is that something that like UNO has?
No, they call me and I say, sure, which one do you want to borrow? Because they're my loaners from OAS. But as far as some of your rural areas, the public school and the public library are one and the same.
Yeah, we did that, the Sand Hills High School in Dunning.
Mm-hmm.
Down to like 89 people. And they have one now. And they're in like Portal 1 skies, so.
is there any discussion about the binocular version of that? Because I saw some prototypes a few years ago.
I think I want to say Valentine bought a binocular set.
Yeah.
And I've given the information to at least 3 libraries. I don't know who all has followed through. Because we don't really have to do anything with that. They just.
Yeah, there's no maintenance.
Vortex Optics sells a really nice pair of like 8x40s. They're like $190 pair of roof prisms and you get them for $100. And so you buy that and an Apache case and the whole thing costs like $150 maybe.
And it usually has like a star chart and like.
There's a different star book that they're pamphlet thing. And then, yeah, it's like an Eastern Nebraska birding book or Western Nebraska birding book, wherever they're at.
But that was-
Iowa Western has something similar. They have a pair of binoculars and a book in a plastic case for their astronomy classes for checkout.
All right, well, I'll take enough time. We got 15 minutes to roll here.
That's fine. New business. Member schedule. You're probably saying, what's a member schedule? I want to sort of set aside every month at Astro Park. Say member event, it doesn't necessarily have to have an officer there or anything, just. Members might be there that night. People could coordinate, put it in the calendar system. Try to increase some more of our members only events. We do a lot of outreach. And we can do a little bit more in reach. Although most outreach events are an in-reach event because everybody hangs out together, but that's interfacing with the public. And we have a separate calendar now for members only items. And so I was just trying to think of a way to kind of populate that. If we have the space down there, we put something regular on it, it happens, or maybe we do member only events at some of the parks, right? There was a discussion a little bit ago about Prairie Queen or Walnut Creek. I think it was, that was the two we were discussing, just having some place in town to go to. Thoughts?
Good idea.
Private OAS star parties.
Now, to make it consistent, I'd have to choose a specific day of the month. Because I can't keep moving around based upon the moon. Which, I mean, yes, it would be nice, but then it's harder to remember what day of the month it is.
I don't think that should be a problem. I know we have some moon aficionados in the audience there.
Yeah. So,
Zirinsky has worked well with it on the same day of the month.
yes, yes.
Every month, and we've done that for several years now, so.
I think it's just a question of
And folks really don't want to move, they can look up and see, is it there tonight? I'll go or I won't go.
Yeah,
I think it's just a question of picking the appropriate day.
Yeah.
Yeah, day of the week, yeah, yeah.
and I certainly don't want to cross over with NSP Mahoney. Is that third Friday? Fourth Friday?
This year.
This year it is. Oh, based on the moon.
Yeah.
We do move
This
that.
year it's based on, yeah,
Okay.
and it's always the fourth weekend.
It's the last
That's a
one.
luck of the draw kind of a thing.
Sure.
The other landmine to watch out for is Pavilion La Vista.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be busy.
But you might only get certain people at a member event versus outreach.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
We could start off with quarterly and see what happens.
Yes, I like quarterly. That
Mhm.
might be good. Start that out. Yes. I'm sure people have heard about tick stories from the last picnic.
That's what.
Did you have any?
Yeah, I had two.
No, I mean after you left.
No.
I didn't. My niece did. She
Oh,
was the one running around in the tall grass.
well,
Do it.
so we've done some, a little bit of research. Where'd my little thing go? And I have a visual aid for tonight.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Does that make it a tool time then?
kind of is a tool time. So this is the beginning of a tick tube. So you take permethrin. You mix it with like 1 part permethrin, 3 parts water. And you put a bunch of cotton balls in it and you let them kind of dry out. And then you shove them in the tubes. And you toss them around your property. The mice take the cotton balls back to their nests. And make their nice cozy little nests. And what happens to the ticks that are on the mice?
They die.
They die. So you have an impact on your tick population. Deer is not going to be the same because this is more geared toward mice.
They don't like nests. Deer don't like nests.
I don't think they'll reach in there and take them out.
I'll eat the whole thing.
Yeah. But, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the breeding time for ticks is usually spring and fall.
Yeah.
For the highest amounts.
Well, they start in the springtime, yeah.
Yeah.
Spring is the heaviest, and they start dying out about August.
But they have like,
Yeah, they go through a couple of cycles a year. They keep on going.
Yeah.
they have to like, don't they have to feed like 3 times before they get to an adult?
Yeah, they go
stage?
through several, couple stages.
So if you can interrupt that life cycle a little bit, just.
So maybe in March, April, toss a bunch out and we'll see what happens, right?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
What's the worst that could happen?
No, nothing bad.
You
happens.
waste some time.
Well, the mice will benefit. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Now, I do know that there's a mice in Tom's building.
Yeah, did you see him again?
No, I haven't been in there.
After you said he was in the speaker,
Yeah,
I went in there and looked, oh yeah, he'd been living in the speaker.
Yeah, it's like a little apartment building.
There's like 4 different big nests inside that.
Set up house, huh?
I would always vote for treating your clothes,
Yes. Yeah,
preventing them on you.
we're just trying to, well, I had one that fell out of the tree and landed in my hair. I've been at.
We had 2 of them that fell on the picnic table in that, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. That surprises me, because the tick has to go up there to get on something.
Oh, yeah, to get that high.
It's not going higher than a mouse.
But I have heard them, yeah.
Mostly they climb on you from low.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's why I always spray my socks and my pants legs and put them on.
Talking about those in-reach events,
yeah.
we had talked, I think, a little bit at the board meeting about non-astronomy related OAS events.
Oh, social
Social,
time.
social events, if anybody's interested in, like Sonali and I, before the meeting, had talked about going to the Luminarium as a,
Do they sell alcohol?
on Thursday night. They do.
Thursday
They
nights.
do have adult only nights.
Yeah, Thursday nights at the Luminarium is adults only. And there's late nights at the zoo where it's adults only, and they have beer carts set up all around the zoo, and you get to see the animals in a different, in like a
Different light.
where you can go to, well, I don't, they have some issues with the weed jungle being open, but
Yeah.
we went a couple of times in the bat,
Not only I'll be there with the bat.
up there, but at night, those things are just, they put fruit out everywhere, and they're just zipping around, and make sure you cover your drink, because
Yeah.
stuff splatters on you, and you're just thinking it's fruit juice. You just tell yourself it's fruit juice, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Just what
would
I.
anybody be interested in setting up and coordinating some of those types of events where we just get together and do something fun as a, I mean.
It could be a
I hang
movie
out
alley.
with, most of you at least, stuff like that.
Yeah, Oppenheimer's coming up. That would be a fun.
I have a fun story for that later,
Yeah.
but not just.
Anyways, just
I'm
throwing that out
excited.
No,
I'd be
that's
happy. I mean, I'm not gonna run to that part. I got too much on my plate, but
No, there's nothing, I mean, it's just, say we're all gonna meet here and do this thing, and people show up or they don't. And, so,
sure.
all right, just gauging interest. I
Who
might-
has access to that activity calendar? Is any member can enter, or do we just say, hey, this is coming up, and send a email off to an exec board person and they can put it on the calendar for us, or?
Yeah, I'm working on trying to make that accessible to members.
Okay,
I haven't gotten, I mean, I can certainly give them the link, but it kind of has to work with their specific calendar.
Yeah,
app.
anybody wants the inReach, like the OAS member only event calendar, just get on Discord or send John or I an email. We'll add you to the share list.
because yeah, as I hear about things coming up at UNO or Iowa Western or MCC or UNMC, I share those out.
Yeah, like speakers and stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe,
That'd be great.
maybe we could add a specific hashtag on the Discord for members only events.
Yeah, there is a section called Astro Lectures, I think. On Discord, and I post like some webinar stuff through the Night Sky Network that I get links to. That you can register for those, but if you have in-person ones, that'd be great too. We got 5 minutes to wrap this up.
I was just thinking someplace where we could, somebody could put up something like, yeah.
Bill's chomping at the bit to call up.
Sleep.
Anything else?
What? Motion to close.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
When you hear you say no.
I have a question if we're still in new business.
Yes, we are in new business.
This is for you, Krista. What is UNO's policy on snacks now?
go for it.
Snack in here.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, well, it's after hours, so it isn't like, even before COVID, it was, you were supposed to go through the university food service. But anytime that it was evenings, weekends, they wouldn't do it. So nowadays you can get food brought in. I haven't seen anything individually wrapped for a long time, so I don't think that's no longer a policy. I can look it up, but if we bring in pizza for physics and it just comes from Domino's or who's ever got the $5-10 pizza deal that month.
I'm talking about the snack table we used to have.
That shouldn't be a problem. You know, if we're bringing
was
in
good,
cases of pop and food and donuts,
It was
it's,
good.
Right.
Yes.
yeah, I don't see that being a problem.
Sounds good.
Carol's still.
I hear Bill.
I don't know, we gotta take care of that.
Yeah, who's gonna take the trolley and bring in the coffee pots and stuff?
Don't write it in the application. We don't do that.
I'm not gonna write it in the application.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if it shows up and it's eaten
No.
and it's cleaned
It's-
up, nobody.
It says in the letter I gotta sign, it talks about, you'll go through the food service for any food. I'm not gonna.
No, well, if it's something that's after hours or they don't want to do, then we're allowed to use any food person. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I've seen bake sales now on campus, so. A lot of that they just haven't deleted from things.
Satisfied, Bill?
The hard part with the
Say,
construction is I'm trying to think of a good place to fill the coffee and dump the coffee.
Back wall here.
Yeah.
And all the tables have an outlet. You can use a table we're not using.
As long as it's plugged in.
Oh, yeah, we've got the power. It's the access to easier access to water versus trying to go into the bathroom sink.
Zinc right there.
I can't remember where the bottle fillers are. The only one I used was the one that's now on the other side of the construction wall.
That's right. That's the only one I know.
Big sink right in the middle of the,
That's true. You could use that. I would run that water a little bit though. Just because it might come out yellow for, every month for a while. Oh, well, then, yeah, not a problem.
We'll put a Sawyer light filter on there.
There you go.
As new as this room is, that one's got a drip.
Yeah.
The room is new somewhat, but that is actually some of the original
Good move.
pipe work.
Oh, well, okay. Motion to close.
Okay.
He got his point out.
You don't care about the foods, you
Okay,
just want the
Mike
foods.
Motorson makes motion, Bill seconds. Just because I said motion to close. The motion has been made and seconded to adjourn the business meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, already gaveled, too late.
Opposed to that.
all right. Anybody else want to go to backlot?
No.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Backlot, backlot.